Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Dallas Unemployment Insurance Town Hall. We're glad you joined us today. Before we get started, we're going to go around the room and introduce everyone who we'll be talking to today. First, I'm Julie Hedrick. I'm the APFA National President. David?
Hello, I'm David Arnett, and I'm a contract and scheduling rep and also a current unemployment specialist.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brian. I'm the APFA National Contract Chair.
Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Harris, APFA National Treasurer. Philly-based, welcome.
Hi, I'm Kelly Hagan. I am Chicago-based. I'm one of your elected negotiators and also an unemployment specialist. We're glad you're here.
Hello everyone, my name is Ankit Patel. I'm the assistant to the National Treasurer and assisting with this town hall. I'm also LAX based.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Josh Black, APFA National Secretary. Glad to have you today.
Thank you for joining us this morning. The purpose of this today is to hopefully answer as many questions as we possibly can for you, especially your state-specific questions regarding unemployment insurance. There is a video online that hopefully many of you had an opportunity to watch prior to the meeting that answers a lot of the basics about unemployment insurance, as well as we'll walk you through the other resources that we have to help you out through this time frame with getting those benefits. The first thing we would like to do is to remind all of the furloughed flight attendants who are listening in today that it's really important that you update your personal email address, as well as your current resident address with the company and the APFA. We're going to walk you through where you can find that on JetNet right now. And so, Brian, I believe you're going to help the flight attendants find where on JetNet they can update their personal email address if they are furloughed.
Yep. So if you just log on to JetNet as normal, you'll see on the right-hand side where it says resources for furloughed team members. You want to click over there, click where it says view more. Once that page pulls up on the left-hand side, you'll see a link that says APFA represented flight service team members. Once you click on that link, there'll be several other links below there where you're able to not only find the furlough guide that was put out by the company, you'll find some furlough frequently asked questions and some benefit questions regarding that you may have while you're on furlough. And then at the very bottom, it says provide your personal email address. This is very important to keep your email address updated, as the company will be communicating over our personal email address for any updates moving forward regarding our furlough or potential recalls.
All right, thank you, Brian. And then we're going to go over and go to the resource where you can find these unemployment resources on the APFA website. And I believe Kelly's going to walk us through that process. It's just 1 minute for Josh to get back to the APFA website. While we're waiting on that, I do want to let you know that Kelly and David have been working on helping our flight attendants for the past 6 months with their unemployment claims and appeals process. I'm proud to say that as APFA reps, they have helped our flight attendants to get back $1.8 million in benefits that are due to them. So I can't thank them enough for all of their efforts in this. We've had a lot of flight attendants who have had some issues, obviously, for $1.8 million to be recovered. So thank you so much for doing that. And I'm sure probably we're going to go over 1.8 million with how many more flight attendants we now have on unemployment. Okay, it looks like, Josh, we're to the APFA website, and we'll have Kelly walk the flight attendants through where they can find these resources on our website to help them also.
Okay, so the page that you're looking at now is the apfa.org website homepage. So if you go to the far right-hand side, you'll see where it says Member Resources. If you click on that tab, it will bring you to the Member Resource page. Underneath Helpful Links, you will see Unemployment Resources. Oh, and thank you, Josh, and Update Your Info is on there as well. So if you click on unemployment resources, it will bring up what we have for you. The first two hyperlinks that you will see is how you can reach David and I. We have a contact form and we also have an email address. As you scroll down, you're going to see some general unemployment information. If you had the opportunity to look at the PowerPoint that David and I walked you through, this is a little bit deeper dive into some of those items that we just touched on that. We've got a lot of good information on here, especially with the legislative affairs, with the CARES Act, with the lost wages assistance, and hopefully with a new PSP extension. On the far right-hand side of those tabs, you'll see resources. If you click that, you're going to have some information here that will be needed while you're filing your initial claim. You're going to need to have American Airlines address, their federal ID number, and their phone number. So we have included all of that for you underneath this resource tab. It is also included in the leave packets as well as the furlough packets. If you scroll down on this tab, you will see those packets included. And we also have just some other general information that you may find beneficial in there. Just something I want to touch on is when you do your initial claim, there are going to be some information that you need, such as that address and the phone number that we provided for you. You are also going to need to know your social security number. We suggest having some of your paperless pays or your e-pay statements available. You might want to have your banking information available if you want to sign up for direct deposits. It's kind of an intensive, short process for filing a claim, so we want you to have as much information possible readily available to make it just as painless as it can be. So below those tabs that we just went through, you're going to see the state unemployment resources tabs. Those we have divided into the different states in which you have the ability to claim in. And how you can choose which state you're going to claim in is there's pretty much an 18-month look back. So any state that you gathered earnings in within those last 18 months, you have the ability to file unemployment in them. You can only file unemployment in one state. So if you have transferred bases, it would behoove you to go and look at the bases in which you were based to see who pays the best, who has the best benefits with unemployment. And we would suggest that you file in that state. So let's sneak over to Texas. When you file your initial claim, the very first hyperlink that you're going to see on this is the Texas Workforce Commission, words are hard for me today, unemployment website. That is where you are going to file your initial claim, as well as once you have filed your claim, you will have to do certifications every other week. Certifications are very, very important. That is you telling the state, I believe that I'm eligible for these benefits and I would like to claim them. So always, always, always certify. Now the processing time on claims can be anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks, so it's a kind of a lengthy time frame. And you may forget to do certifications because you're not getting any money, but you have to do that certification. They will come back and get retro back pay, but only for the weeks in which you certified. So very, very important. We also just have some benefits at a glance that just kind of, if you are one of those people that have been based in multiple bases, this is kind of a quick way you can look at the high spots to figure out which state that you're going to claim in. We also have some additional resources for you. It's like the benefits handbook. Once you file a claim, you will receive that in the mail. It is available online, but we just wanted to have that kind of in like a one-stop shopping spot for you. We've also included government advocates for you. These are your elected representatives, whether it be on a state or a federal level. We have had some flight attendants that have had some issues with their claims, not necessarily in Texas, and we were able to get some success in getting their claims moved forward by reaching out to their elected representatives. So we wanted to have that readily available for you. And I believe that covers everything that we have on the web page. We do update it When we do the updates, we try to color the updates so that way if you have read it and you're coming back to visit us another time, you don't have to dig through all of that to figure out what we changed. We want it to be readily available for you. And we probably will be updating it in the next few weeks because we have some other stuff to add on to it. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Kelly. Okay, before we get started on these questions, can we talk a little bit about some of the claims that you've had in Texas, some of the issues you've had here, and if you can highlight maybe some of the ways that we could have avoided them or what's been happening in this state with the flight attendants in the past who put in phone insurance claims.
You want to start, David?
Sure. So one of the things that we're seeing a lot in Texas is, I know that many of you have reached out. There are about 30 of you that we have currently on the list with the reported as quit, or walked off the job, or left because you thought it was hazardous to your health. If you get any of these reports back from the state saying that you have quit your job without good cause, please, please, please pay close attention to that letter, because on the bottom of that letter, it's going to tell you that you have rights to file an appeal. We know that you did not quit your job. We know that you did not just walk off the job. We know you didn't escape. Anything that the state of Texas is telling you that's not accurate. You need to file an appeal, and you need to file within the timely manner. What Kelly and I do, and we'll touch on this in a little bit, is we work directly with American Airlines Human Resources. And what we're seeing is a coding issue. And so the company has committed to trying to manipulate the code so that the leave of absence does not trigger a reported as quit, any type of reported as quit. We've gotten many, many excuses from the company that it's coming from the individual representative who processes it, but 30 people could have the same code and come back with different results. So that's one of the things we're seeing in Texas. One more thing is backdating the claim. We're currently working with the company in terms of flight attendants who were not able to initially file at the onset of the pandemic, who maybe filed, they took a 3-month PDLOA May, June, July, but they didn't file until mid-June, and for some reason now they want to backdate their claim. There is no procedure in Texas other than maybe speaking to a TWC representative or filing an appeal. We currently have some appeals pending for that, but the company has sent what they call amendments for all the claimants who want to try and possibly backdate their claim. So that's where we are with that. Kelly, I will let you speak to other things that we're seeing in the great state of Texas.
Okay, American has been very good about working with us on trying to expeditiously resolve these claims. They have been working with the higher up managers of TWC, not just the representatives that you would be so miraculously able to actually speak to if you could get a hold of someone. They've been really good with trying to figure out how we can get our members paid, because that's what we're all here for. Some of the issues that we have seen are with the VOPs, because in Texas, if you receive, in accordance with their state regulations, severance pay, it disqualifies you from unemployment. So we're having some issues with that, and we're trying to address those as aggressively as we can in concert with American. Another issue that we're having is when American reports your earnings, that is reported to the state on a quarterly basis. And the way that American system is everything is earnings. So when you get your furlough pay, that's being coded as earnings. When you get your vacation payout, that's being coded as earnings, which we are finding and are hopeful it continues can be a good thing, because severance pay disqualifies you from unemployment. So if it's being put in as earnings and not severance pay, it makes you eligible for unemployment. So we're trying to work with the programming that American has the reporting requirements with the state to try to get the best we can for our flight attendants in a state that has very rigid unemployment regulations that are not favorable to workers. Is that a good, did I miss anything on that?
I think we pretty
Much hit all
much
that?
hit the VOP, we hit the backdates, the
Yeah.
reported as quits. Those are the big things we're seeing.
Oh, one other thing, when David had spoke to the coding errors for the reported as quit, the company has worked with the state to figure out how to put different codings in that captures the true situation that we're in. So if you are on any type of leave and you are receiving pay, it will not be processed as a leave of absence, which triggers a reported as quit. It will be coded as reduced hours, working all available hours. That was initiated in August, on or about the beginning. So we're still going to be seeing some of these reported as quits, and they're usually for folks that participate in programs prior to August. So this new wave of Octobers, we're hoping that will not come up. And that's Texas.
Well, guess what? Our first question has to do with that. So let's see, and I think you just about answered it because it obviously by the question, this flight attendant filed the claim prior to August. But let's go ahead and see what we can do to help this flight attendant. Okay, the question submitted was, she's on a leave of absence, by the way. I was denied benefits. They said I quit. I filed an appeal on August 19th, 2020. And I still haven't heard anything. How long should I wait to try to contact them again? David, you want to help us out with that one?
Sure, Julie. So if you are a claimant and you filed an unemployment application that came back and said you were reported as quit and you filed an appeal, there is currently not an estimated timeline for how long you could go awaiting that appeal hearing. So the one thing that we do suggest is that any claimant in the state of Texas, when you file that appeal, it's going to give you what they call an appeal confirmation ID number. Human Resources has requested the minute that you file that appeal, and you're actually probably going to want to file the appeal for both the determination as well as the recoupment action at the state, because one is going to cause the other. However, if you sort out the reported as quit, it's going to take care of the overpayment. But the one thing that we do suggest is when you file that appeal and you get that appeal confirmation ID number, that you send it to us. You can send it to us at unemployment@apfa.org or on the contact us form on our website. We forward that information directly to Human Resources so that they can get a jump start on the appeal. And then of course, once you get the notice of hearing, if the case is not sorted out prior to that, then you want to send us that notice of hearing because it's going to have you referee the date and time of the hearing. And then again, the company will once again try to intervene on your behalf prior to going through with the appeals process.
Perfect. Thank you, David. Okay, this next question is from a flight attendant who took the VUP on October 1st. I have been collecting unemployment since May when I went on leave. Am I still eligible for unemployment benefits until my maximum benefit pay runs out? We will not be getting our payout until next August, so technically I am not currently getting payment from AA.
Okay, so to answer that question, because you initiated your claim while you were on a leave, and now you have a status change in the middle of that claimant period, we are seeing in Texas that they only look at you once you filed your initial claim. Once you have exhausted your benefit weeks, and then you go into the additional 13 weeks that was provided under the CARES Act, there may be an opportunity for them to review your claim, which is where they rerun it. And the reason why they're rerunning it is because you were getting state benefits for the first period. Now you're going into federally funded benefits in the second period. So they have to rerun your claim. When they rerun it, it is going to trigger that process again. So the paperwork will be sent to American and they will ask for your status. There will have been a status change. So at that point, the VOP would most likely come into it. And in all honesty, we're just getting now to the point where people are triggering the secondary federal benefits. Once that is triggered for the VOP and the severance pay comes into it under a VOP, because there was a general release signed, because there was a contractual signed by the claimant, that is going to disqualify you for unemployment. So pretty much until you get to federal, you're kind of okay.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Okay, the next question is a flight attendant who has taken the VIA. And the question is, I first filed a claim to TWC starting on 4/26/20. I have 2 appeals filed on 6/11/20 and 8/4/20, so in June and August. I continue to request payments every 2 weeks. I am now retired as of 10/1/20. I received no compensation. I have filled out the forms exactly as several of my colleagues who were successful in receiving payments, but to no avail, I have not received them. What should I do next? David, you want to help us out with that?
Sure. So I would be interested to see, first, have you contacted us? And just a little backstory of what we do is like we have a spreadsheet. Once you go onto our spreadsheet, you don't leave our spreadsheet until your claim has been paid or it's been decisioned. So I would be really interested to know if you have contacted us and what you're actually filing the appeals for. You said you filed 2 appeals on June 11th and August 4th. I mean, what are you appealing? The state's determination? If you have any documentation, if you could please send it to us at unemployment@apfa.org or on the contact us form on our website so that we can find out what it is that you're appealing and if you were denied, where your claim status is. That would be my suggestion so that we know more details.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, David. Okay, the next question is from a flight attendant who is on a leave of absence. And the question is, TWC is going to reinstate the work search requirement for unemployment insurance beginning November 1st. Do we have to look for work, or are we exempt since we are still active AA employees while out on an EBLOA? And Kelly, I think you're going to help us with this.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so as we had mentioned earlier, any pay that you are receiving from American while on these leaves of absence, they are reported as earnings to the state, which they capture on a quarterly basis. American is reporting you as reduced hours, working all available hours. So you are not actually an unemployed claimant, you are a partial claims claimant. And what that means is you have a job and you're gathering earnings through that job. So with that, you do not have that work search requirement. Now, a furloughed flight attendant who after that furlough pay period has ceased, they are receiving no pay. They they're gathering no earnings for any services. So in that scenario, you would have a work search requirement to maintain the benefits.
Makes sense. Okay, thank you, Kelly. Okay, the next question is from a furloughed flight attendant. Can we wait until after the furlough pay period has depleted or ended to initially sign up for unemployment? Is there a time limit from our last working day to be eligible? And do we have to sign up for unemployment immediately? David, I think you're going to help us with that.
So we kind of have suggested to all of our claimants that the sooner that you file your unemployment claim, Julie, because it does take about 4 to 8 weeks for that claim to process, that you go ahead and file as soon as possible, even while you're receiving severance pay. In Texas, severance pay will preclude you from receiving unemployment benefits. However, for any week that you certify and you do not receive any unemployment benefits, meaning that your weekly benefit amount is 0, those weeks do not count towards your maximum annual benefits. So we do not want claimants to exhaust their severance pay and then have to wait an additional 4 to 8 weeks before they start receiving any real eligible unemployment benefits.
Okay, so they should file immediately. right?
Yeah.
And do they have to certify through that entire time of the furlough pay period?
Absolutely, absolutely, because when they certify and they don't receive any benefit, those weeks won't count towards the maximum 26 weeks.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, next question is from a flight attendant who has taken the VIA. And it's, I originally took a 1-year PVLOA effective 5/1/2020 and have been collecting unemployment insurance since that time. I later decided to accept the October VIA and taking the lump sum option. I am now officially separated from American, but my pension has not yet been activated, so I currently have no income. Can I continue to receive unemployment insurance benefits even though I elected to retire? While I am required to inform the TWC of any pension benefits I receive, and I continue to apply for benefits after I begin receiving the pension. So I'm sorry, that's a three-parter kind of there, I think. So I think the first question here, Kelly, is can I continue to receive unemployment insurance benefits even though I elected to retire?
Okay, so what we have seen in our world thus far is we have seen a few people who have been claiming unemployment benefits while after taking the May VIA. And we have just seen, I think, what are we up to, David? 3 in Dallas, 4, that now it's triggering a denial of benefits and a recoupment for any benefits paid, and we have initiated appeals processes on those. As I mentioned earlier, Texas looks at severance pay as a disqualifying factor for unemployment. And even if it is a lump sum, there is some calculation that they use that we have not been able to track down, and American Legal has been trying to track it down as well, to figure out how they factor the lump sum into how many weeks it would disqualify you. So to answer that question, it's a really sticky wicket for us, because some people have gotten it, some people never even filed for it, and then some people have triggered a recoupment on any benefits that they have received. So we're working our best to just get through those as they're handled, or as they come to our attention. We kind of haven't wanted to really press the issue with the state for fear that it would trigger huge recoupments for a lot of people that have filed and have been successful. So that's part 1. Do you want me to go on to part 2?
Yes, it looks like part 2 is why I'm required to inform the TWC of any pension benefits I receive. Can I continue to apply for benefits after I begin receiving a pension?
So how a pension works. A pension, if it is paid from your employer that your base period is capturing, then it would be measured against your unemployment. So anyone that we have, any of our flight attendants on property, whether you were LAA, LUS, your pensions were under a previous employer, not of your base wages. So your pension in any of our bases, very rarely do we get to make a blanket statement on this, but any pension will not measure against your unemployment. Now, we have seen in other states, once that pension is disclosed, it does slow your claim, because I guess very often people who get pensions are actually getting it from their current employer. They are retiring from their employer who's now paying them a pension. That is not the case with us due to bankruptcies and mergers. So it's a little odd in our situation, but David and I work to get through that. American Legal is completely briefed on that situation, and they are huge advocates for us and our members as well, to make sure that you get your fully entitled benefit and not have your pension measured against it.
Thank you.
Can I add one part to that?
Yes.
One thing that we are seeing from our claimants that are asking Julie, and I think this is what Kelly and I have been talking about, is If you have currently been receiving benefits and then you subsequently receive that pension, how to disclose it to the state without stalling the claim, because it is a must report in those cases, right?
Yes.
So we want to make sure that we are honest with the state, but we also don't want to stall our claim, but we kind of are cognizant of not doing it on the biweekly certification, because the state does not ask the question, where is the pension from?
Correct.
It just says, are you currently receiving a pension, or will you receive a pension? And it doesn't state the base period employee.
Good point. Very good. Okay, thanks, David and Kelly. All right, next question is from a furloughed flight attendant. When is the best time to file for unemployment insurance in Texas?
So as David had mentioned earlier, the best time to file is, if you haven't done it yet, I would do it today. As soon as that furlough date happened, because of the lengthy processing times for that 4 to 8 weeks, you're going to receive your furlough pay. You will report it in your certifications as earnings. That's how American's going to report it. If you opted into the vacation buyout portion of it for any allocated or accrued, that would be reported as earnings as well. And just to follow up what David had said, if your earnings are too much and you do not qualify for any weekly benefit amount, it will not reduce your weeks. It will keep your claim active, and it will just keep it going through the process, because I don't want any member to file late and then find themselves in a situation where they may have a month or 2 months and not have any income, gas to put in cars and food to pay. So don't do that.
Okay, well, the next question kind of goes along that same line. It is from a furloughed flight attendant, and this flight attendant says they're waiting until the end of the furlough pay period before they file for unemployment insurance. And their furlough pay period ends January 15th. The flight attendant lives in Georgia and is based in Texas. There are temp jobs I want to apply for, but I'm afraid if I accept a temp job and when it ends, I will have to file unemployment insurance in Georgia. Do you know if I accept a temp job and it ends before January 15th, can I still file in Texas, or should I file in Georgia? Kelly, I think you're going to take that one.
Yeah, I'm going to take that zinger. Okay. To be quite honest, I have no idea what Georgia unemployment is. If it's better than Texas, your specific situation may be, let's wait it out and try it. Where my red flags would be on this, if you accept a temporary job, is there a defined end date of that temporary job? If there is, it would be like a contract job and you would not be eligible for unemployment in Georgia. So if Georgia is better than Texas, if you're unable to file a successful claim, you're going to be back to where you started, which is you're going to need to file in Texas. It may behoove you to file in Texas, and then if your Georgia job does allow you to claim unemployment, you can do it through Texas. So yours has a lot of little sticky parts to it. It may be best for you to reach out to David or I at that unemployment@apfa.org, and we can talk you through this, because I've got about 10 questions I want to ask you right now that I can't. But for you, let's take the Georgia piece out. I would maybe just wait until you talk to David or I, and then we can figure out what's going to position you best to get the most eligible benefits for you during this time.
Sounds good. All right. Okay, this question we kind of touched upon, but we'll touch upon it again. And it is, if you are on a rolling VIA, which I believe that's the 12-month payout VIA, can you still collect unemployment?
as we mentioned earlier, that the severance piece is heartburn for us right now because that is disqualifying for unemployment in the state of Texas. Ultimately, it's going to be the state that determines that. American and APFA, we are actually in concert to swing that bat to get any VOP person as much as they can possibly get that they're entitled to. So definitively, I can't say, yeah, the state's going to pay you or the state isn't going to pay you, because ultimately that is that's their right to determine that. But we're going to advocate to best position you, whether it be through the initial claim or through the appeals process, to give you that moment where you can do the best you can with what you have.
Kelly, maybe this is a good time for us to talk about flight attendants who have actually been based in multiple bases within the last year or so, and kind of the decision to make where to file. Do you want to talk about that? Because I know we have a lot of flight attendants who may have been based in Dallas for 6 months, and then they could have been based in, let's say, Los Angeles or Philadelphia for 6 months.
Yeah, I'm actually a base hopper, and I'm on a leave. So if you have any earnings within that last 18-month look back, because what they look at is the last 5 quarters, and if there is any way, and I'm going to say this to VOP people, if there is any way that you might have the ability to pull yourself out of state to Texas, you might really want to consider that, because that could stave off a lot of heartburn and just not knowing what's going to happen. But as far as everyone else, definitely go and look and see at all the places that you've been based. Look at those states, and there's a lot of benefits past that weekly benefit amount that you need to look at. You need to look at, does severance pay measure against your unemployment? Does your vacation buyout, does that measure against your unemployment? So while, let's say you've got 2 different states that are very similar, maybe the weekly benefit amount is just, $50 or $60 difference. Look at those other contributing factors, because if you could keep all of your vacation payout and it is not impactful on your unemployment at all, that may end up in the long run be worth more than that $50 or $100 a week. Another thing to look at is, of the states that you potentially are shopping with, how long does their weekly, or how long do their unemployment benefits last? Because David, what's Florida? 12 weeks. And we've got a lot of states that are 26 weeks. So you really need to look at the length of time in which you can have pretty much a really long claim or a really short claim. And if you need help navigating that, let's say you've had 3, 4, 5 bases in the last year and a half, David and I, we can look through that for you. And, we can compare the states to figure out what's best for your situation.
Great, thank you, Kelly. Can I ask you this, as far as, let's say, in the 18-month look back, is there any minimum amount of months that you'd have to be based in another base to apply in that base or in that state?
No, there is not. I know for myself, I was Miami based, New York based, and Chicago based. New York paid better, had a lot for my personal situation. I was based there 1 month.
All right, thank you. Good information. Okay, this next question is from a flight attendant who is out on a leave of absence. And the question is I've been filing unemployment for a couple of months now and have been putting in 0 work searches and 0 hours worked. On the initial application for unemployment, I put reduced hours, 19 hours. I wasn't sure if the hours on the leave of absence were considered working hours. I recently received a voicemail from TWC stating I would have to list work searches on my filing soon. I'm starting an STLOA for 6 months and want to file correctly. Please help me. David, can you help?
Sure, caller. Well, the first part of the sentence is kind of concerning to me, because you are putting 0 work searches and 0 hours worked. The 0 work searches is okay because currently in Texas, the work search waiver is still waived, but 0 hours worked. So if you are not, and Kelly can help attest to this, in Texas, we do have some claimants who are in recoupment because they are not claiming the hours on the PVLOA or STLOA or EVLOA, whatever you're on. So it's very important that, again, the company is going to report your status as reduced hours, working all available hours. So any wages that you get, you need to report to the state. Now, there's no roadmap to say you need to split it by 4, you need to divide it by 3, you need to do it when you get paid. It just needs to be reported to the state during that month because the company is going to report those wages quarterly. We do not want there to be a discrepancy whenever the state gets the wages from American and says you're getting the 19 hours and you're putting down that you're getting 0. So that could possibly trigger a recoupment. So to answer your question, the hours from the leave of absence are considered wages, but if there's, I'm not sure what's on the Texas application, but it could say, well, did you work? No, but did you earn any other type of wages? Then that's where you would claim those hours.
Can I add to that, David?
Absolutely.
One of the things that we have been noticing on the certifications, when you are trying to report these earnings, never before have we ever seen a situation where an employer pays an employee not to come to work. So an unemployment certification process is not set up for that. So we have found that flight attendants have been having to get quite creative with it, where we're not stepping on property. We are not providing services. So if your portal is asking you, did you work any days this week? And you say no, sometimes if you hit yes, it will give you nested questions, such as how many days did you work? How much money did you make? What were your earnings? So we have seen where you're almost having to kind of fake out the system a little bit to report those earnings. At the end of the day, the state's going to look at on a quarterly basis, you earned this amount of money and what did you report? So as long as you can get those numbers inputted and captured, you will be protected because you are accurately reporting earnings. So you may have to kind of mess with the system a little bit and see how you can fake it out to accurately report those wages.
But I did.
I know. It's hard, especially when it says, did you work? But I would hate for you to find yourself 6 months into this, having not reported that because the system's not set up for this, and then go into a recoupment. And what a recoupment means is we see that you did not claim any of these earnings. So all this that we paid you over these months, which was your weekly benefit amount and any federal money that may have came your way, whether it be the 600 CARES money, the 300 lost wages, we're going to need that back. And that's a very scary letter to receive when it's I owe $22,000. So sometimes faking out the system to just keep all the cards on the table lessens your liability.
But if you get in that situation, you can email us.
Yeah.
And we'll be there to help you.
Yeah.
Okay, so another part of this is the work searches, right? Did you address that? I think you did address that,
Yeah.
right? Does this flight attendant's on a leave of absence? So I believe you said earlier they do not have to do any work searches with a leave of absence.
Currently in Texas, it's waived until I believe December 3rd. Well, I don't think in Texas it's been reinstated, but we are having some claimants who are reaching out saying they're getting that phone call.
I think they're about to reinstate it.
Yeah, and I think it's coming up soon, but currently there is no work search.
Okay, so it hasn't been reinstated yet.
Yeah.
Correct. So as long as you are on a leave that is generating earnings, it will be reported to the state as reduced hours working all available work. And you would not have that work search requirement. If you are on a leave that is gathering no money, you will be looked at as unemployed. fully, and you will have a work search requirement when it comes back into play.
Hence why you probably got the work search requirement, because you put 0 hours in. Okay. All right, and something like that, when that requirement comes back in, is there a way, are we going to be adding that to our website? When those come back in, is that something that you guys have thought about?
We have thought about it, and one of the challenges of it is, for us, is we don't ever want to put a member in a position to where, because we didn't update something in a timely manner, they've now not received benefits. In some states, they have it as soon as you log into their portal, it's like on the ticker above the, the screen.
So they'll see it.
Some states, they never mention it at all. It's only in the local news.
It's hard to find.
It's really, really hard to
in
find.
some states.
It's really, and some of them are buried in government, the governor's executive orders. And I mean, David and I, we try to go through that stuff to stay on top of it, because a lot of times the governor's orders may give additional benefits. We want to make sure we capture that for our members. But we were just terrified if that is the only place someone is getting information and we were a week late and they lost benefits for a week. I couldn't live with myself on that.
Yeah, we don't
David
want them to
couldn't either.
depend on
Yeah.
APFA for that, right?
Yeah.
You guys are helping as much as you possibly can.
Yeah,
And
and
obviously, lots of research you have to do in all of these states.
Yes.
Consistently.
well, and folks email us a lot on the work search requirements and stuff, so we're pretty on top of it. We just didn't want to have to be that only person for it. But we do research that if somebody emails us to make sure.
This is off topic, so sorry for.
Oh, that's all right.
Does the company have anything out there to help our flight attendants right now with unemployment?
Yes, David and Kelly.
Yes, but that's APFA,
Yeah.
right? APFA is definitely doing that, but they really, at the end of the day, we are doing you two are doing all of the work for our flight attendants, and actually up to 14,000 flight attendants now
Yeah.
can be applying for unemployment as of October 1st. So thank you very much, because we really need, we know our flight attendants need this assistance. So thank you. Okay, next question. Furloughed flight attendant, is unemployment dependent on the leave code for the month?
On that, I believe we touched on it before. We're used to looking at our schedules with all these leave codes. These leave codes, the state has no idea what any of those mean. So what we're looking at is we're going to be going into reduced hours, working all available hours if you're on a leave. And David, on the furlough piece, what were they? Lack of work?
Lack of work.
Yeah, so taxes will be reported for any furloughed flight attendant as lack of work, which is a normally covered code under unemployment.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this next question is a little bit long, so bear with us here. This is a flight attendant who is on a leave of absence. I was on unemployment insurance in Texas during June, but did not request payments during July, August, and September because I was on the 70-hour leave during each of those months. My TWC account was still active, but since it had been over 3 weeks since requesting payment, I had to answer all of the questions again. Where it asked when was my first date of my last period of employment, and the footnote indicated they are referring to your last work period. If you had worked for this employer before, I put July 2nd, 2020. I was given a day of the week to submit payment requests and have submitted the first, so I'm hopeful I answered correctly. Do you have any insight into this? It looks like she's asking if she actually filled out the information correctly with the July 2nd date.
So just for everyone's record out there, if you do not certify or request benefit payments for a period of time, your claim will go inactive. So I think that's the part where you're saying where you answered the questions again. In Texas, it'll look like you're completing the application process all over, but it's going to actually, when you complete that, you're going to revert back to your initial monetary determination that you received on initial filing. So you'll have any remaining benefit weeks and monies left over from that. As far as putting July 2nd, 2020, if for some reason you have an issue with that, or the state comes back and says, there's a problem, please let us know, but this is not something that we've really seen an issue with in Texas. It's just a trivial thing that I haven't encountered a claim that has received an issue over that.
So, based on the information we have before, if this flight attendant would have kept certifying through those weeks, even though she was out on the 70-hour VLOA,
Right.
but she would have received no payments, so it wouldn't have harmed her, right? But she could have kept certifying, then she wouldn't have had to answer those questions all over again?
She could have kept certifying to keep her claim in an active status. And remember that for any weeks that you certify and you do not receive any weekly benefit amount, those weeks don't count towards the 26 maximum weeks for your annual benefit. So that's just a way to kind of keep your claim from going to a stall, is to continue to do what?
Certify.
Okay, everybody all together, certify. Gotta do it. Okay, great. Okay, next question is from a furloughed flight attendant based in Dallas. I have been receiving unemployment insurance since April due to taking a 3-month leave. Company stated they would not deny my claims. I returned to reserve for August and September, in which I claimed my earnings and received 0 pay from TWC. Now that I've been officially furloughed, do I continue to claim my furlough pay amount, or can I request a different kind of unemployment insurance as a furloughed employee to start the amount of time my unemployment insurance will last, like an extension? My original benefits are set to expire fairly soon and may not cover all of my furlough time in the future.
Okay, so I'm going to go through and piece by piece on this, if you don't mind. First of all, I just wanted to say, just as a point of information, the company will not contest a claim. As far as a denial of a claim, that is the state. So I just wanted to kind of just do a housekeeping on that. By the way, nice job on keeping your claim active. As David had said on the previous question, you went ahead and certified, kept your claim active, so that was good. You will need to report your furlough pay. It is going to be reported to the state as earnings, so you will need to report it as such. As far as an extension or a different type of unemployment benefit that's specific to furlough, unemployment is just straight unemployment. So they look at everyone the same, whether it was a reduced hours or if it was a furlough or a quit with good cause. It's just a program that if you have a reduction of work or a loss of work, that it is a temporary program to help you until your situation changes. As David had mentioned, your claim is active for 52 weeks. And you have a certain amount of money that you can claim during those 52 weeks. Once that has been exhausted, there are different options. Like currently, we've got the additional 13 weeks that comes in with the CARES Act, that's the PEUC. Once that has been exhausted, there will be another reevaluation for you. And it's called an extended benefit period. And during that, once you've exhausted any program that you're on, they're going to do a snapshot, and they're going to look at the state unemployment rates. They'll look at the federal unemployment rates, and each state has its own individual calculation to figure out, are the unemployment rates at a triggerable place to give you extended benefits. That can be on a state level and that can be on a federal level. It just really depends at the point of your true exhaustion, what is available. So I cannot speak to exactly how long your benefits will last because everyone's is going to be different of when their expiration comes up, or not expiration, but when their exhaustion comes up once they've hit those 26 weeks.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Okay, we have a few questions left here. Let's see here. This is a quick question, it looks like, from a flight attendant on a leave of absence. Does the 26-week max start over January 1st? David, do you want to take that one?
Well, Julie, It actually does not, because your unemployment benefit weeks are based on the date of initial filing, and your claim is valid for 12 months from the date of filing. It is not a calendar year, it is a rolling calendar year, and we as flight attendants are familiar with that in many aspects.
Great. Okay. Next is from a furloughed flight attendant. I've been on a maternity leave that turned into a medical leave. I went active right before the furlough. Since I don't have a paycheck for insurance to be taken out, will I be billed for insurance up until December when my furlough pay period ends? Also, will I qualify for unemployment?
Okay, so on that one, and Julie, correct me if I'm wrong on this, on the insurance piece, you will be billed for that. And then if you elected to maintain it, you would go ahead and submit payments on that throughout your pay period, your furlough pay period. Then after your furlough pay period has concluded, then at that point you would have the option of going on unsubsidized COBRA, which would be the full cost of your insurance.
That's correct.
As far as will I qualify for unemployment, when you file your initial claim, they will do a look back to see your earnings that were captured and to figure out, it's called a monetary determination, which is how much will you get a week. There are some options if you see some big gaps in there that you could request for an alternate base period to be reviewed, if that could give you a little bit more for your weekly benefit amount. However, you will have to do the initial claim filing first. So I would suggest that you go ahead and do that. You will get that monetary determination. It will actually break down the quarters and have your earnings in there. You'll be able to see your holes. And then reach out to us, and then we can help walk you through how to do that, how to calculate your alternative base period, and if that would behoove you to do it. I am going to add one last little thing onto this that I know wasn't your question, but for anyone else listening, that monetary determination is very, very important. So please review that, because even if you've been based in Texas this whole time, let's say American just kind of, the reporting was off 1 month or 1 quarter, and it just doesn't seem like your weekly benefit amount is correct. As David had mentioned earlier, you've got strict timelines to appeal that. So if you do not appeal that, you agree with that. So we want to make sure that your earnings are fully reported. If you were a base hopper, they may have captured one state but not the other. And we can help you with that to get all your wages where they need to be so you can get that weekly benefit amount. But that monetary determination is very, very important.
Yeah, Kelly, especially with injury on duty and
Yes.
any type of medical leave, any type of extended leave, so that we can make sure that those wages are correct.
Yeah.
Okay, next question is from a flight attendant on the leave of absence. When we file our 2 weeks asking for benefits, should we be putting that we have worked the reduced hours or stating we have not worked? I'm guessing they're asking if they should have put in the either, depending upon what they're being paid, right? We have different payment amounts right now on a leave of absence, 26 1/4, 7 1/2,
19.
or 19, and then we have also a 15. So I believe this flight attendant probably is asking about those hours.
So on those hours, as we have stated earlier, they will be reported as earnings by American. So you will need to disclose those in your certification process. How you do that in your certification process, you could either force the system and say, you know, I worked 4 hours this week, 5 hours this week, 5 hours this week. You could put, let's just say hypothetically, you're on the 19-hour leave. You could say, you know what, I worked all 19 hours in this 1 week. You know, you could split it between 2 weeks. It really doesn't matter how you skin that cat, just as long as the state numbers add up with your numbers.
Great. Okay, another question from a furloughed flight attendant. And it looks like we have quite a few furloughed flight attendants actually on today. So one of the things I realized that we forgot to mention early on is that on Monday, October 19th, if you have given the company your personal email, they will be sending you an email that day with the amount that your furlough pay period will, the amount of hours you will be paid during your furlough pay period. So just want to make sure, if you haven't given them your personal email address, to make sure you get that in, and this Monday they'll be sending you that amount of hours. Okay, next question. When I certify, should I split my furlough pay across 2 weeks? Kelly, I think you could just kind of talk about this a little bit. Also, for October 4th through the 17th, I won't have my first furlough payment yet, since that comes October 30th. So how should I tell them I got paid for those 2 weeks? And David, you want to help us out with that one?
It's so interesting because Kelly and I were talking about this earlier. What is the best way for a flight attendant in Texas who's going to receive the severance pay? Because your first severance payment is not going to be until October 30th. Your pay on the 15th is going to be the true up for any flying in September. So we were talking about generating earnings the first 2 weeks of October. So it may be best to certify for the first 2 week period that's where you got the severance pay, because remember, it's only going to be reported quarterly to the state. So that way you can go ahead and go into a benefits receipt. And because you're generating earnings based on your furlough pay period, right? So you could certify that you already got that during those 2 weeks, even though you're not paid for it later, because we certify in Texas for when you receive the wages, when you earn the wages, not when they're received.
Yeah.
So it may be, that might be the best case scenario, so that you can go ahead and get your eligible benefits payments.
Great. I'm glad you guys had that conversation. I would have never thought about that, but that's a really, yeah, that's a good way to do that. Great. Okay, last question we have today. I'm furloughed. I've heard conflicting information on where to file. Based in Dallas for just over a year, but I live in Oklahoma. So can I not file in Oklahoma, and do I have to file in Texas? Second part of the question is, I have not filed yet, and was going to wait until after the furlough pay is finished, since severance pay for unemployment, I'm not sure what the DQ is for unemployment insurance. However, do you get paid unemployment insurance on the weeks you are not getting furlough pay? I know we've answered some of these, so I know that if you are receiving 0 in unemployment insurance for a week, that it doesn't go against your overall number of weeks that you will get furlough pay. But I do want to go ahead and answer the Texas or Oklahoma question.
Sure. So you definitely do not want to file in Oklahoma, because you will have no wages reported in the great state of Oklahoma. That makes me want to sing that song. So you want to make sure that you do file where your payroll taxes were applied. That is not paid by you, the employee, that's paid by the employer, American, which would be Texas. Now, as we've said, if you've ever been based anywhere else, you want to make sure that you do, indicate that on your initial filing so that you can grab those wages from the different states. For the second part, you were going to wait until after the furlough pay is finished. We can't suggest doing that, and I'm only saying that because we're witnessing in Texas, it's upwards of 6-8 weeks before anybody.
Sometimes longer.
Sometimes longer. If there's anything that could stall the claim, you have no idea. So please go ahead and file your claim. I cannot stress enough. Otherwise, like Kelly said earlier, we're going to have our members out here. Well, I'm going to wait until severance pay is done, and then they're going to wait another 6 weeks, and they're going to be without pay. A lot of our members, these are our most vulnerable people, and we are trying to give you the best advice for success so that you don't miss payments.
And that question we've received quite a bit in all of the states, actually. I think this is our third town hall so far, and I know we've gotten that question multiple times in each state. So maybe we can get something out, because it seems to be that's a common thought right now amongst our flight attendants.
And I believe it was in our last hotline that we put out. But
So-
yeah, let's touch on it
And
again.
we'll put it out again,
Yeah.
because it's still coming in. And especially, let's make sure if, hopefully we answered all the questions that you have today. I know that the video that we have online is very helpful with a lot of the basic information. So please, if you haven't viewed that yet, make sure you go find that. And then we have plenty of resources on APFA.org under the Member Resources tab for you for unemployment insurance. Also, I know Kelly and David have given out the email to contact them, and in many cases, it looks like it would be a great idea for you to contact Kelly and David and just kind of walk through the issue you have with them, and then they'll guide you best on how to work on that appeal. So thank you very much for joining us today. We hope that you are taking care of yourselves, all of you who are furloughed, those of you out on leave of absence and be out. We're here to help you also, all of you, as much as we possibly can. And please let us know if there's anything we can do for you while you are out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dallas.
Bye,
Thank
Texas.
you.